Hi and welcome back. This demonstration is going to talk about packaging up a file. When you package your file, you're basically saying to the vendor, I'm done, this is good to produce. Or you're saying to me, I'm done, this is good to grade. So you'll want to run through a final checklist to make sure that you're actually done and ready to send this off. A couple things we're going to check for. One is images. So if you haven't watched the video on image prep, you want to take a minute, pause this, go watch that image prep video, and then meet me back here, because image prep is a big thing that you need to make sure is done before you send your files out to the vendor. And then the other thing we're going to do is look at our colors to make sure that our colors are correct. So let's go ahead and get started. There's a couple ways that you can check the images. These are labels that I just made for an upcoming exhibition at the museum, and there's a lot of different linked images that are used throughout. And I know you're seeing little gray bars here. It's because I'm zoomed out. If I was to zoom in, you would get to see that this is actually all text, right? And so the gray bars are just InDesign's way of saying there's words here. But this is a quick read mode, and it allows you to look at things faster. There are some low-res images here, and I know it, and I alerted the people at Powers That Be, and here's what happened. This image, let's look at it in Photoshop, is really a huge image, right? There's all of this margin area around, and I am only focusing on this little bit of information right here. So if I look at image size, the actual DPI of this is 300. And what I can do in this case is I can manually resample this to 400. Now, I didn't unclick resample, and what I'm telling this is to force more information, so it's set on automatic, but what it will do is preserve the details and enlarge it. I'm telling it to add more information in to make this 400 pixels per inch. And that is an okay practice to do. There are programs out there that you can download if you need to do this on a regular basis that do a really great job. The Illustrator does okay. As a general practice, I don't increase things more than 100 dpi, and they have to be at a good working DPI to begin with, because you just lose information and it gets out of hand, and then the number that you read in InDesign is false. So if I increase this to 400 DPI, hit OK, and I'm just going to save this. Now I want to save this as a new name, so I'm going to save on my computer, and let's see, we're just going to save this under my weekly lesson 4, because this is just a demonstration. 400 DPI, save. Okay. Now if I go back to InDesign, this hasn't changed because I saved it as a different file name. So I'm going to remember it's showing at 233 DPI effectively. I'm going to relink this. We're going to go to week 4 of the recent places. It's going to be right there at the top, which is super convenient. I'm going to say OK, and we can see that bumped my DPI up to 311, which gets me into a acceptable print range because I asked Photoshop to add more information to the file. Now, this image is huge, and the reason that this image is huge, the first image I just showed you was an image of a work from another institution. This image is of a work that we have at the museum, and so we were able to tell our photographers we just want a picture of the inscription. So even though in real life it lives on a vase and is similar in size and scale to this vase, because we ordered different photography, I got a higher resolution DPI out the gate. And so really you have to pay attention to the crop on your photography, the scale on your photography. All of that makes a huge difference when it comes to placing work into your pieces and getting them ready for print. This image 235, that's pretty low, but I have already increased this image. So you see the 400 dpi. I've already increased this image by 100 dpi to make it work. And again, this is one of those, if you look at the original, we're comparing seals that are at the very bottom of the base, but there's all of this space that's unused. And so in this instance, because this vase is from another institution, they just took a picture of the bottom, and it is was still 300 dpi, but because I'm zooming in so much, even though this is just a 2¼ inch square, I'm zooming in so much that I really lost a lot of information. And I'm also hoping that because it's just a 2-inch square, it's going to be okay and passable at this scale, that you're really not going to be able to get in to see individual pixels. This comparatively was one of our object images. We were able to control the photography crop, and it is just a picture of the seal, so you can see that this DPI is extremely high. This was a battle that we faced the entire time we were working on this, because we couldn't get larger images in this very rushed process. And so you see I've already edited to 400 dpi here. 206 was the best that I can do, and I decreased the scale of the stamp as small as I felt I could in order for you to be able to read it. And then I took our stamp and tried to get a similar scale just so that it looked more like a 1-to-1, and I was keeping everything within a 200 to 300 dpi range, but ideally we're at 300 dpi. All right, so if I just real quickly, we're just going to go down. So those were the caveats, but we're just going to quickly check. And what I'm looking for here is this effective PPI. So other than those two that I'm aware of that I'd already worked on, we got the best results that we possibly could without having an extra program. This was one of them. That was the other. We're going to make sure that the rest of these are 300 dpi or greater, which they are, and then we're done with our image check. We're not missing any links. We didn't have any alerts. Now, if I was to take the image and move it, you would see an alert there, and that would have to get fixed. So let me just show you real quick. If I took, let me open up a new window here. More weekly lessons, week 4. If I was to take this image, for example, and I was to move it into the assets folder, immediately I get a, hey, what the heck, it's gone. And so then I would need to go and relink to under assets where that image actually is, so that I don't have any alerts here. Okay, so the question mark is saying, hey, I don't know where this image is. If it's a yellow caution sign, it's saying, hey, you did something to the original file, refresh, and then it will highlight this icon here so you can refresh. And we've done that before a couple weeks ago when we were changing the timestamp on the invitation. So I've checked all my images. That's good to go. I want to, as my next step, and that you should keep a mental note of this, these are the steps you need to follow. You want to go to your hamburger under your swatches, select all unused, and delete those. Now, I want to figure out all these extra colors, where are they being used? Typically anything like a cyan or magenta are notes, and I can see right here I've got this gray color, and that's because I've got a placeholder for a QR code that someone else is going to put in from the museum, and then my notes that it's for placement only and what the placement is for is here, and that's in the magenta. And I'm pretty sure if I zoom out and I look, I'll have some cyan note somewhere. I'm not seeing it off the top, but it's okay for, we'll just go ahead and say, hey, you can delete, and if you do are out there and exist, let's just only have magenta just to reduce the colors. So it's pretty much a common known, if you've got notes that are in magenta, those are not going to be printed. But also I know for a fact that this was going to the editor to input the QR code and make a couple final edits for this particular job. So I've got the color that we decided that was right for these cases, and this will communicate to the printer that it should not have any other rogue colors printed. And I know that these two colors will go away because the QR code and information, the FPO message, will also go away. All right, so that is all good. So now I'm ready to save this, and I'm going to save it as a new date under today so I don't get confused with work weekly at the lessons. Week 4. Today is 8:03. All right, so now it's saved, new location. I'm going to go to File, Package. And what this is going to tell me is there's 5 fonts used, and none of them are protected, which is good. That means that they should have a folder for them, so I can send the fonts with the files. 19 links were found. All of them are RGB color space, and I am okay with that. The printer will automatically convert to CMYK, and the results we have are typically pretty good. These images are a high resolution RGB, and they're, image museum photo quality. I don't want to mess with their particular color profiles, especially for this job. I'd rather the printer interpret, but there will be instances when you want to convert to full CMYK, depending on the job. There's no spot inks, which means like a PMS or Pantone color, and everything else looks good. So you can go through and see, here's all the different fonts that I'm expecting to see in my package. There's 6 of them. Here's all the different links. There's 19, there's no images. You can check all of that and identify any issues that are there, and then troubleshoot. For now, there's not any issues, so we're just going to hit package. This is going to create a high-res PDF, and that sounds great to me. So here we go, and it's packaging. Now, once upon a time, you would have to go back into your files and edit each individual picture to make sure it was exactly 300 dpi and not any more, because of file size and space. But because the programs are advanced and computers are more advanced, you really can just trust the program to do that work, and also just to be able to handle larger files, and that's perfectly okay. So now that that file is packaged, we can go find it here, and we'll see this is the folder. Let me show you in a list so you can read the name. So it just says, here's like the name of the actual InDesign file, and here's the folder for it. And when I look in the folder, I've got 2 additional folders, document fonts, and it should have my fonts in there that I was expecting, which it does, and also it has all of my links. And so it should have the 19 links, which I'm not going to count right now. I'm just going to trust that they're there. And then what you would do is right-click and hit compress. And once that folder compresses, and you can see it's working right here, once that folder compresses, you're ready to upload it to the vendor's portal, or email it, or upload it to Moodle so I can see it. But you want to make sure you're uploading a compressed file so that you're getting everything packaged tightly and ready for upload. And every vendor will have specific instructions you have to follow, so you want to make sure that you're reading and checking it twice, so that you're uploading the files with the right name and the right location. And most vendors are pretty prescriptive, even to your file name. A lot of times they want to know like if it's a billboard, they'll want to know your name, the ad name, because there's an agreement based on that, and then the run dates. And so you would have to know that from your client going in so that you can appropriately name and prepare the files and upload them in a correct manner, so that you're not creating timeline delays in production. Okay, and that is how you package files. I will see you in class, but if you have any questions, or if you run into issues where you have problems that you can't figure out, don't hesitate to email me and we'll troubleshoot together. All right, I'll see you next time.